Hey, so here we go again. What I need to do now is work in geometry mode, basically. So I'm going to be working with this fella down here, and what I want to do is obviously just kind of move it around and do things to it. Not sure why that's all the way over there. Actually, I am sure why that's all the way over there, but that's not the point. Let's create a new box, which is now over here, and I'm going to bring it out. Because what I need to do is put a BSP over here. It's going to be part of this. So just come along here. Let's get it into a good place, which is going to be round about here. And this is now an opportunity for me going to my top viewport again. You may remember it from some time ago. We can see a lot better what's going on here. For example, you can see the ends of these pieces, which you couldn't really unless you highlight them. So there you go, you can see where they are. That comes in there. So let's move this one along. It goes to there, like that. This one's going to have to come across as well. So go to geometry mode, grab these fellows, and I'm just going to move them just there, so you can see they're kind of off that edge. I'll do the same again over here. Just deselect it and go like this. And I want this to kind of come flush here, if I can, right at the edge. Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is drop down into perspective mode again. Actually, no, before I do that, I'll go into side mode. That way we can see that it's not quite in the right position. So I'll move it all down like that, and I don't want the entire thing, let's move it down to about there, I don't want the entire thing to be this high anyway, so what I'm going to do is just bring it down a little bit like that. Okay, and then I can go into my perspective mode and just have a look at this. Because sometimes you can't find a piece that's going to be suitable, and who knows, later on maybe we could build it as something else. You know, we could build an asset for this. But if I don't have anything in my library that's going to be immediately suitable, then there's no reason why I can't just use the BSP for this. I don't even have to stick things on it if I don't want to. Now if I go to my browser window and go to content browser, you can see we've got this panel here. I like this panel, so I'm just going to stick it on here, although I'm going to turn it the right way around. Just sink it in. There we are, and stick it up here on this corner. So we've got all these great big things going on. We've got a good opportunity here to put some pipes in as well, so that might not be a bad idea. Like I've said before, really, it's just kind of filling this. If I put that on there, remember we were going to use this earlier and I decided it was highly unsuitable, so I'm going to use it now. Always full of busy here. So now I'm going to scale this down to 0. I don't know, 0.4 perhaps. Okay, that way I can have it underneath this one. There we go. Just going to move this into the right area. What have I done? I've just closed something that I shouldn't have done, haven't I? Ugh. Oh no, I haven't. Good. Sorry, I had a feeling that I'd done something bizarrely stupid when I hadn't. Right. I'm having mouse pointer issues now as well. There we are. Just going to bring that down to there. That way it's got this part which looks like it's welded on, so I like that too. There's a vent circle, a vent wheel. Oh, that seems pretty nice actually. Let's pull that out there to about there. And then if I just stick this in it, a little bit small perhaps. 3.6 could do it. Plenty of opportunity for mayhem with this. because this makes it into a pumping wheel, which is a useful thing. Okay, like so. Now let's have a look at the textures that I want to apply onto this then. So again, I'm going to go to my materials, turn off my static meshes, and that'll give me a chance to just to have a look and see what might be suitable for this. Is it going to be made of concrete? Is it going to be made of metal? Who knows? Let's have a look. That's an awning. There's a barrel from earlier. We can use these textures, you know, over and over again on anything we want anyway. So block walls. Look, buildings. Those are good. See what we can find. Chrome surface. That's quite nice. And of course our old favourite, concrete base, which we can just drag onto this. So if we go into the texture alignment mode, let's make sure we have this and this selected. Then we're going to apply the material like so. Then we can go over here and just apply it to this one. And here. Okay, and that gives us this nice part here. It's like a giant industrial air conditioner almost, isn't it? We can stick some pipe work across it as well. That'll be useful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab that, 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 and that. And then if I just drag these across, probably should be going into this phase. Drag these across. I'm going to turn this back to static meshes. Alright, now I don't want to make this too tall, so let's see if we can cut any of these parts off, see if we don't need any, but we can get rid of that. And we can get rid of that. That just leaves us these two parts here. Well, 3 parts. You get the point. What we really don't want is for that wheel to be sticking over into the chain link. There we go. Because intersections obviously are bad for everybody involved. Now if you look, there's no intersection there, so let's bring it down and in. There we are. And that gives us that shape there. Okay, much more complex, much more, certainly much more dynamic as a shape. And we can run a pipe off the top of this and out the back of there quite easily. So what I could do is just drag that up and then perhaps scale it by 1.4 in all. Don't just scale it on one axis. Bad things will happen. Maybe change the scale on this. 2 could be okay actually. There we are. So just look over here. Grab that part. Good thing is, you see, that this is still building onto what we already have anyway, so it's not quite facing the right direction yet. We can make it do that though. That's better. Now we can kind of straighten them out a little bit. Bring them up. There we go. So now we have this pipe here that will run along the top. And we could even, if we're clever, connect it into that one. So I think we should do that, don't you? We'll take this pipe here. And just make sure that we get it in the right area. There we go. Now we can manipulate it. Maybe for some reason that made me, just saying we can manipulate it, reminded me of the Pedro del Toro videos I used to do. I'd like to do some Pedro del Toro game dev videos at some point. I haven't done it in ages. There we go. That brings that out like that. And again, like that. And we're going to need to take one of these over, so I'll just Alt and grab. Need to line them up. As you see, it's not particularly well lined up at the moment. Get back. There we are. Now we're fairly close actually if you look, which is surprising and at the same time a bit worrying. So what I'll do is I'm going to bring that along there, and I'm going to take these pieces, let's look at them a minute, just trying to kind of ascertain exactly what I'm going to need to do at this point. I think there's going to work better. Want that one as well. What we have to do obviously is bring these over so they're in the right area, and then that's going to reach over and go into this pipe here, you see. Still needs a little bit more angling, I think, so let's see if I can just change this angle a little bit lower. There we go, 2.81 degrees. Very small degree of change, incidentally. It should be just enough. And what's good is that as I've got them all selected, I'm moving on their local axis. If you notice, when I move away from that, I'm not moving on the local axis anymore. I mean, we can fudge this a little bit, it's just I prefer not to, if I can help it. The most I'd want to do really is just to kind of bend the pipe perhaps a degree or two, just so that nobody really can notice too well. I mean, being an artist, you're going to notice extremely well what we're doing and why we shouldn't be doing it. See that part? That's kind of what I mean. Okay, now as to connecting these parts together, we can then elongate it if we want to, as you can see. There we are, just depending on which axis we want to use. Okay, so what you can see now, because I had to pause for a second or two, is I've extended this pipe along over to here and down here. I've created these pipes here, so they're all kind of knitting together now. Okay, so this was quite a similar part to the other parts. Now if we kind of have a look, there's not really a lot going on down here. What I've done is I've removed the rubble pile as well. There's not really a lot going on this wall that's kind of breaking it up. We do have this control panel here, so what we can do is we can also use a control panel or something similar over on this part. So if I go to my browser window, content browser, and let's just have a look at some nice static meshes. Turn off particle systems, because much as they're lovely, I don't want to use one at the moment. There's some really nice things that we could be using on this anyway. So let's just have a look down. It'd be tempting to use some flowers and plants on this even. However, again, part of the problem is that we wouldn't get that here. Or at least we probably wouldn't. If you think we would, then go for it. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Right, because we've got so much pipe work and stuff going on over here, we could use these deco pipes over here, which we can then link into the wall. can see. I better turn on to geometry, camera mode and so on. Here we are. So if I put them about there, and then put its friend next to it. Now we've got these things on either side, so they really need to have a purpose. We can't just say, oh yeah, they are there because, and then leave our thing blank. So what's going to be in between them? What's going to be there? Well, there's a fire hydrant and there's some gas tank controls. So gas tanks. Let's look at gas tanks. That's quite large. I'm adverse to having a gas tank down here, however, because it's going to fill the level a bit too much. But we could have a gas tank here. Which would kind of make slightly more sense. Although, again, we're really looking at what we can put down here. I think probably something like this would make slightly more sense, especially if we put it above here, over there a bit, and bring it out because it's not even in the right area at the minute. Just have it slightly above there. There we go, and probably left a little bit. More up. There we are. Don't want to confuse the issue too much, so that's dressing okay. There's a hydraulic support, which is basically just a spring. I quite like that, but I can't see a reason why it would have been thrown down there. We wouldn't tend to throw anything that was remotely of any value down here, would we? There's a storage tank holder. That would probably be down here. And then we can put another storage tank inside it. Like that. Hold it off the ground. That way we know that they're going to be able to access the storage tank and lift it and do all the things that our lovable roguelike squaddies need to do in order to make this work. Okay, so because we've got that, what we should do is probably run a pipe or two. So we've got these pipes over here that are already created. Like I say, I apologise that I thought this part was being recorded, and I don't see the point of going back and showing something how I've already shown how to do anyway. So what I'm going to do is just bring this around and then down. Bring that into there, I think. Should be able to see it okay now. Let's get these all lined up properly, or as properly as I can anyway. Back you get. Now I can hit the turning button. There, and that feeds behind here. Remember what we were saying about having parts behind here? It's an ideal situation for us. Okay, so we look over now what's going on with our model. We can see we've got a lot more complicated stuff going on. I'm going to hit the generate light map thing, and I'll see you in the next time. So bye bye for now, drivers.